What's going on, everyone? This is Titus Wang here, and welcome to my first ever tier list video. I had somebody actually suggest that I do this on stream, which I think is actually very cool. And it happens to be a Mario Party tier list, but not just any Mario Party tier list. We're going to be ranking everyone's dice block in Super Mario Party. And I've learned that not many people have actually ranked this, ranked all the characters' dice blocks, and also nobody's ever done it on Tiermaker before. So I figured I'd be the first to do it and get this up somewhere so that we can all talk about it. Also, I realized that Pom Pom is still out of place, so excuse me for that. But we'll just go ahead and place her at the very end there for character, so that it's in perfect character roster order, right? And yeah, I'm very excited to be doing this. This is actually being recorded live on Twitch. Obviously, you see chat on the left. That way, yeah. So chat's over on the far left over there. I'm not pointing correctly, so forgive me for that. But yeah, chat's gonna be on the left, commentating on this while I'm talking about what I think about each character's dice block. And yeah, again, this is recorded live on Twitch, so if you guys want to see more stuff like this, you know, definitely hit that like button on YouTube and go drop me a follow on Twitch if you like what you see here. Different dice blocks to choose from in the game, and we're gonna be grading them based on two factors. Number one, how good their dice block is and what kind of advantages would they have on any board in the game. And two, how different it is compared to the normal dice block, since all 20 characters get to use the same normal dice block. And don't worry, because I'm not going to be including the mean or standard deviation in there, since I think just about every other Super Mario Party character dice block tier list has done that. I'm going to leave that out for the sake of, for all of you that don't really appreciate math, even though I'm a person that's supposed to be majoring in something with a lot of math in it. But I've decided I'll leave it out for the sake of everybody that doesn't understand numbers, or anyone who happens to have a phobia of numbers. So there you go. Because I do also want to get straight to the point, since we do have 20 characters to get through. That's a lot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So just to kick things off, right, I do also have the normal dice block here, in addition to every other character's dice blocks. So just by default, we're going to go ahead and just put the normal dice block in D tier, because we're trying to compare the dice block to everything else. Normal dice block is just boring, you know, we want to spice up a game of Mario Party, shake things up a little bit, if you will, and really ask the question of which characters are the best, and which characters kind of suck in a way, because there are characters that really suck in this game. So, without further ado, now that we've gotten the main dice block out of the way, oh my god, hello, Quirky Turtle with the 2 months resub with the Prime sub as well. Thank you so much. Enjoy your freshly baked emotes, just don't eat them. I actually just introduced my 5th sub emote earlier this stream, so now you have all 5 of them. So, again, enjoy them, and spread that love and hype with all of my emotes. Again, just don't eat them, though. Thank you so much for that Prime sub. I appreciate that. Anyways, the first dice block we're going to go over is Mario's dice block, right? So Mario has 1, 3, 3, 5, and 6. And I should probably also mention that, of course, the normal dice block has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I didn't mention that earlier. But basically, Mario's dice block is just really safe if you just want to roll a bunch of 3s, right? It's not much different than the normal dice block, so in reality, Mario doesn't really have a whole lot of advantages when it comes to him rolling his own dice block on the board, as opposed to the normal one. If there's a space that you want to land on that's 3 spaces away, then Mario's dice block is great, but otherwise, that average consistency isn't really going to get him very far, especially when it's really just balancing out the 2s and 4s that you can roll on a normal dice block. So, for that reason, I'm going to put Mario in C tier. He's not good. He's not the worst character, but he's definitely far from being the best. Let's put it that way. He's practically average, or maybe even a little worse than average, if you will. Next up, we have his brother Luigi. Luigi has a 1, 1, 1, 5, 6, and 7 on his dice block. And at first glance, you might be thinking, well, his dice block ain't looking that great, because half the time he'll just roll a 1. And really, if you're trying to get to a star, the only real good reason for you to roll a 1 is if there's a space in front of you that you really like, that you want to get, that, you know, you want to roll a 1 for. So that's basically why the 1's there, right? The 1's serve a purpose in some way, shape, or form. But in the long run, it won't help Luigi get to a star. Well, that's where his other numbers come in, though. Again, his other numbers are 5, 6, and 7, all of which are above average rolls. And that 7 is something that the normal dice block doesn't have, which does put Luigi sort of in a better league of his own. But again, all those ones, all those consistent ones do kind of hurt him. I do think that he's better than his brother, Mario, but I don't think he's that much better. But I do think because of, you know, the 5, the 6, and the 7, all those above average numbers, I feel like Luigi could stand a chance in helping you win a game over his normal dice block, at least. So I think I'm going to put Luigi in B tier, because I think Luigi could stand a chance with all of his big numbers, like I said. Next is Peach. Peach's dice block. Peach's dice block has the numbers 0, 2, 4, 4, and 6. So, it's kind of similar to Mario's. Basically, they took out all of the odd numbers and replaced them with consistent even numbers. So, the unique thing about Peach's dice block is that you do get to roll consistent 4s, which is better than rolling consistent 3s. But 3s and 4s, all the same, are still kind of average rolls. And Peach's dice block also doesn't guarantee movement because of that 1, 0. Now, if you like the space you're on, the 0 may help you, but otherwise, rolling a 0 is not good, especially if you're trying to get to a star in the long run. And I actually don't think it's really that much better than the normal dice block. Because again, 3s and 4s, they're okay, but they're pretty much average rolls. So Peach kind of suffers the same issues as Mario, where she doesn't really have a whole lot more to go for, if you were to roll the normal versus her dice block. But since rolling consistent 4s is better than rolling consistent 3s, I think I'm going to put Peach in C tier, but above Mario. So right now, Peach is currently the best C tier, but that's probably going to change as we go along this tier list. Next is Daisy. Peach's dice block is kind of cracked, TBH. I mean, it can be, but I don't know. Like I said, you know, rolling a 4 is not much different than rolling a 3, and not consistently either, because 3s and 4s are kind of just average rolls, if you get what I'm saying, you know? I mean, 4s, again, can be decent, but in terms of the whole number spectrum of dice blocks, they're still kind of average, if you get what I mean. But Daisy's dice block, holy nuts. I think we're finally coming to one of the first good people in this game. If there was ever a game where I could say that Daisy was the best princess, this is it right here. Because Daisy's dice block consists of 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, and 4. There is literally zero risk to this dice block. You will guarantee either roll 3 or 4 spaces. It's an average roll dice block all the way across, and it's amazing for consistent movement. The only real downside to this dice block, though, is that if a star is 5 or 6 spaces away from you, you know, an above average roll, you can't get that with Daisy's dice block. You have to rely on other factors in there as well. So, that's really the only real downside to Daisy's dice block, is that she's not a very far traveler, but she will always guarantee you movement if you use her normal dice block. Or, well, yeah, her normal dice block, yeah, because the actual normal dice block still doesn't guarantee you as consistent movement by any means. And consistent moving is key if you're trying to get to a star, so Daisy's is very, very good. I'm actually going to put Daisy in A tier. I think she's superb. Her dice block is superb, especially if you're not a person that likes taking risks. Daisy's dice block has none. 0. So you'll be good to go if you just use Daisy's dice block, really, for the majority of the game, if you're really not all about taking risks to get bigger space values. Now, Wario's dice block. Holy cow, Wario's dice block is also very good. Because here's the thing. Wario's dice block is actually the first one in the character roster order-wise, where there is sort of a little bit of a risk. Like, a little bit of a bigger risk involved. But it's kind of minimal when it comes to characters like Wario. So Wario's dice block has 2 spots where you could lose 2 coins and not roll a single space. And it's followed by 6, 6, 6, and another 6. Like, how amazing is that, right? Basically, if you're not rolling a 0 and losing 2 coins in the process, you're going to be moving 6s every time. And 6 is such a good roll. The normal dice block only guarantees you a 1 in literally 6 chances of rolling a 6, and Wario's is at least 2 out of 3, which is, again, this will outpace characters any day on any board. And considering all the boards are like 30, 40 spaces at most, you could get somewhere with Wario. And again, there may be 2 chances to roll, you know, -2 coins, but that risk is so minimal. You'll probably still outpace most characters any day, even if your luck is just that horrible with rolling the zeros. So, for that reason, Wario is going to be the first character to me that deserves an S tier on this tier list, because he is absolutely amazing. People have dominated with Wario, so there's really no exception to how good he actually is. Now we come to his brother Waluigi, and Waluigi's isn't nearly as good. So one of his spaces is a 0 with -3 coins on it. That's the biggest coin drain, by the way, between any of the dice blocks in the entire game. The most you can lose from a single roll on your own dice block is 3 coins. That's like Mr. Red Space knocking on your door and being like, FBI, open up! And then he just comes in and just takes 3 coins right there and then. You know, simple as that. So, unfortunately for Waluigi, that's already going to drag him down because he has the biggest coin drain on his dice block in the entire game, followed by a 1, 3, 5, 5, and 7. So, when you exclude that coin drain, his other numbers really aren't as bad, you know? Like, sure, there's the 1, which is kind of garbage, there's the 3, which is, like average, and then you have the 5, 5, and 7, which, honestly, is pretty decent. You know, that could get you places. It's really just that coin drain you have to be careful for, but if you're pretty lucky, you could roll pretty decently on the board, you know, and stars may come to you. So, there's not a whole lot of downsides to Waluigi's dice block, but I will say, it is nowhere near as good compared to Wario's. Nowhere near as good. Again, that negative coin drain really hurts him, because again, he doesn't have the biggest coin drain in the game, and spoilers, only one other person has that big of a coin drain. So, that coin drain is really going to drag him down, but his other numbers aren't bad, and he does have a 7 as well, which again, the normal dice block does not provide. It also doesn't give you 2 chances to roll a 5, which is kind of nice. So, I think to me, Waluigi should go in B tier behind Luigi, because Luigi doesn't suffer from that much of a risk trying to roll good numbers. So, I think personally that's where Waluigi would go. So he's not bad. He can be decent. You just have to watch out for losing, you know, that amount of points if you're that unlucky rolling that space. Next we have Yoshi. Yoshi has the numbers 0, 1, 3, 3, 5, and 7 on his dice block. So pretty similar to Waluigi's, except he has a safe 0, because you don't lose any coins on it, it's just a normal 0. And then one of Waluigi's 5s has been replaced with another 3. So on Yoshi's dice block, even though you don't have that risk of losing coins if you roll the 0, you don't have as good of a chance to roll a big number, right? At that point, your rolls are either going to be garbage or average most of the time. But sometimes you'll get sometimes you'll get decent numbers. Sometimes. But again, it's not as consistent as Waluigi, because Waluigi half the time will roll you at least a 5. Yoshi will roll you a 5 or a 7, you know, 1 in 3 chance of the time. It's really not as good if you're trying to consider distance. Again, what really separates Waluigi and Yoshi, since their dice blocks are pretty similar, is practically the safe 0s and or the really bad 0s, and the amount of times you'll roll an average number compared to a good number. So personally, I think Yoshi. I think it's a pretty close call between Waluigi and Yoshi, but I think Yoshi for me is worse than Waluigi. So I'm gonna put Yoshi in B tier. So far Luigi's the best B tier, but that's probably gonna change again as we go down this list. Rosalina. You'd think for a Galaxy Goddess, Rosalina would probably be a God tier character, but I'm sad to say that her dice block contains 2 spots where you roll a 0 but you gain 2 coins. And then it's followed by a 2, 3, 4, and 8. So Rosalina's dice block is actually the first dice block character roster order-wise, that you're actually gaining money, that you can gain money from, right? And you have 2 chances to do that. If you roll 0, you'll gain 2 coins, which, hey, not horrible, right? If you need money in a pinch, Rosalina's dice block may help you. But, and here's the big but, the numbers on the rest of the spots of your dice block just don't add up. They just don't. Because it's 2, 3, 4, and 8. So you're either gonna roll something bad or average most of the time. Like, you can maybe really get that 8 if you need to propel forward, but again, the chances of rolling that 8 are so low. And I mean, on your normal dice block, you're better off rolling your 5 or 6 as opposed to trying to land that 8 on Rosalina. So I'm sad to say that as much as I like Rosalina as a character, her dice block just isn't good. In fact, I think it's potentially worse than Mario's. So I'm gonna probably put Rosalina in C tier, behind Mario, because at least Mario guarantees you consistent movement. Like, 2 coins can make a difference, but most of the time you can't rely on that difference, you know? It just doesn't work out a lot of the time. So, honestly, with Rosalina, you're not really gonna have a whole lot of luck trying to roll good numbers unless you miraculously hit the 8. But that's a 1 in 6 chance, and you can't rely on the odds being that negatively skewed in your favor to help you get somewhere. Donkey Kong's dice block. Donkey Kong, let me just say for the record, is one of the craziest dice blocks in this entire freaking game. Because Donkey Kong has a ton of zeros, to say the least, right? One of his zeros will grant you a whopping 5 coins, the biggest coin fill in the entire game, followed by 0, 0, 0, 10, and 10. So, we're going to break down this dice block a little bit, because this Donkey Kong has been one of the most controversial characters within tier lists and probably within the opinions of people, because people either think Donkey Kong's really good or really bad. So, let me break down his dice block a little bit, because everything about his dice block is significant. Again, Donkey Kong has a 0 on his dice block, a certain 0 that will grant you 5 coins, which in Super Mario Party is a whopping half a star. If stars could be split up into multiple parts, but that's basically what it is. It's half a star, which is incredible. You know, if you ever got paid 5 coins to stay where you were, you know, that doesn't seem like a whole bad ordeal. I mean, within all of the other numbers of the dice block, though, it's very difficult to hit, but if you could hit it, man, you're gonna get a big reward, and the biggest reward you can get from a single dice roll. Then there's 3 zeros, right, which aren't good, and that's the most zeros you'll also find on a single dice block. Like, again, Donkey Kong's dice block is very, very ballsy, because you can either make money, you can either roll one of the other 3 neutral zeros, which, again, the most you'll ever see on a single dice block, or you could hit it absolutely big and roll one of Donkey Kong's 2 10s that he has on his dice block. And I should probably also say that Donkey Kong also has the best chance of you rolling a 10 out of anybody else in the entire game, because he has 2 10s. A 10 will never show up more than once on anybody else's dice block, which is kind of ridiculous if you ask me. So, all things to consider, I'll also kind of just go on, you know, like a little of my personal experiences, right? Because at first when I played Donkey Kong, I didn't like it too much. But as I played him more, I started to realize how Donkey Kong could absolutely dominate a game. If you know, of course, obviously for reasons considering you're pretty lucky. But if we're also going to compare Donkey Kong's dice block to the normal one, it's so different. I mean, what dice block will make you 5 coins in a single roll, literally no ones, has more zeros than any dice block in a single roll, and let alone has more 10s on a single dice block to just balance all those zeros out? It's actually incredible. And even though Donkey Kong is a crazy character to use, you know, in the long run, all things considered, considering everything that makes his dice block different, he's actually pretty good, in my opinion at least. So, I'm actually going to put Donkey Kong in probably an unexpected place that, you know, people are probably going to disagree with me on this, but I think Donkey Kong is an A tier for me. I think with all of his unique characteristics of his dice block, he could really be a fun character to play. And he does grant you big money as well if you're into collecting coins and all that stuff. So I think personally that's where he would go. Next, we have Donkey Kong's cousin, Diddy Kong. So, Diddy Kong is kind of similar to Donkey Kong, but just not as good. Or, actually no, wait, let me take that back. Maybe I do think he's just as good, because he has one of his zeros can grant you 2 coins, which doesn't seem that impressive, and it's followed by 0, 0, but then that's followed up with 7, 7, and 7. So, if you move at all with Diddy Kong, it's the same scenario as Donkey Kong, where you're always guaranteed to move higher than whatever your normal dice block would ever roll for you. And unlike Donkey Kong's 33% chance of rolling a 10, you have a 50% chance of rolling a 7 with Diddy, which seems a little bit safer. The coin fill in his dice block obviously doesn't make it for the fact that Donkey Kong's could give you 5, but his dice block is a little bit safer, and again, it will always guarantee a roll higher than the normal dice block. So, I mean, the whole point of this is that consistent 7s are very, very good. And that's if you can roll them, because again, half the time, you might not strike it rich, but half the time you will. So, I'm going to put Diddy, because Diddy also is very high on my list, too. I'm thinking about where I should put him, though, because I already know which tier he should go in my opinion, but it depends on what placement. I think I'm going to put Diddy in between Daisy and Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong's is kind of nuts, and you know, obviously there is a lot of downsides to Donkey Kong's dice block, but Diddy's not so much, but, you know, he's kind of in the same boat as Donkey Kong. To me, Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong are about equal, but if I had to place him anywhere, I think he would go slightly higher than Donkey Kong. Alright, so that's actually it for all of the main Mario characters. Now we're going to get onto Bowser's side of the roster, and starting with the main King of Koopas himself is Bowser. Now, Bowser is an absolute monster. He practically has the same risk as Donkey Kong, if not more risk than Donkey Kong. Because you have 2 chances on Bowser's dice to roll a 0 and lose 3 coins, and which I mentioned earlier is the biggest coin drain in the entire game. And you have 2 chances of rolling that, not just 1 like Waluigi's, but 2 chances. So, your chances of losing money are kind of decent in a way, which doesn't seem good at first. But then those 2 coin drains are followed by a 1, 8, 9, and 10. So let's break down Bowser's block a little bit as well, right? Obviously the 2 coin drains, not great. You know, you lose 3 coins on a single dice roll itself and you haven't even moved yet, and you may not even move. That's not good. Then there's that 1, which is kind of like the whole neutralizer of the entire dice block, and that's kind of like saying, hey, you know, you may not move, and you may not lose money, but we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. That's basically what that 1 is saying, you know? You're still not going to move very much with that 1, obviously, but on the bright side, you didn't lose money. But the second half of that dice is where it gets absolutely spicy, because that 8, 9, and 10... Bowser's dice block is the only dice block where you'll ever see those kinds of numbers together on the same dice block. Like, I kid you not, you will never see an 8 and a 9, or a 9 and a 10 on another dice block in the entire game. That's what makes Bowser's dice block so significant, that half the time, you're gonna roll anything above what the normal dice block would normally give you, and they're all diversified huge numbers, which makes Bowser an absolute traveling machine. Alright? Bowser could absolutely sweep the board if you're lucky. And I mean, obviously, if you're not, well, then that's another story, but the thing is that Bowser can move so much in the course of one game that sometimes losing 3 coins doesn't seem horrible. I've seen people dominate with Bowser, and it's ridiculous in that regard. Again, Bowser's probably going to be the character that outpaces everybody else on this roster, so I'm going to put Bowser in probably the best spot on the entire character roster, which is going to be an S tier, even above Wario, because Wario, even with all of Wario's 6s, he's not going to be able to outpace Bowser, especially if they're both rolling their numbers on the same pace. So, I think Bowser might take the top spot for best character in the whole game, in my opinion. I really don't think anything's going to top this, but, well, let's keep going here, because now we're going to go from a very high note to now a very low note. We are now coming towards Goomba's dice block, and Goomba has 2 coin fills, plus two coin fills, which are zeros, obviously, followed by 3, 4, 5, and 6. Excuse me. Bowser meta? Yeah, dude, it's honestly Bowser meta out there, man. Bowser meta is really where it's at for a lot of people, and I can totally understand why. The times that I've played Bowser, he can absolutely destroy a game unless you're just that unlucky, which you can be. It's possible. I mean, again, there is a big risk with his dice block. There's a reason why some people don't like Bowser, because he's very risky. But otherwise, he's very, very good for movement. I mean, if you ever really need to get anywhere, you know, if a star's like really far away from you, Bowser can easily close that gap, and it's actually ridiculous. Anyways, Goomba's next on the list, and as I was saying before, Goomba has +2 coins, 2 of those spots. He has 2 spots where you can get 2 coins and a 0, so coin fills, followed by 3, 4, 5, and 6. What else can I say about Goomba's dice block? It sucks. It actually sucks. The only thing it has over the normal dice block is you making some money 33% of the time, but otherwise it's the same exact numbers from the normal dice block. Goomba practically has almost nothing that can help him, besides maybe making more money in a pinch. So, I mean, that's really all I have to say about Goomba's dice block. There's just really nothing Goomba's dice block can do to help you out over what other characters have to offer. So I'm putting Goomba in D tier above this normal dice block here, because the normal dice block is going to be at the bottom regardless, but good lord, is Goomba's dice block like pretty close to just being that sucky compared to the normal. It's just not good. Next up we have Shy Guy, and Shy Guy is a very safe dice block. It contains 1 0, 1 neutralizing 0, no coin fill, no coin drain. It's just a neutralizing 0 followed by 4, 4, 4, 4, and 4. It's literally all 4s. And I mean, if there's a space in front of you that's 4 spaces away, then good for you. If you got Shy Guy, easy clap with the flippin' with his dice block, right? You'll just be able to land on that spot easily, and even if you rolled a 0, you'll get there eventually. But looking just past that, right? Of course it's different than from the normal dice block, because I mean, you have all 4s, and that's 5 out of 6 chances to roll a 4. It's never really been more consistent to roll the same number over and over again. And even though I've been saying that 4 is a pretty average number, the fact that you get 5 out of 6 chances to roll a 4 is pretty darn good. Shy Guy's dice block is like Daisy's in a way where you'll be able to keep up for the most part. Obviously not compared to Wario and Bowser and all that stuff, but you'll be able to keep up pretty good compared to most of the other characters. So I think Daisy, or sorry, not Daisy, but I was gonna say Shy Guy, but I already know where I would place Shy Guy. Shy Guy's gonna go behind Daisy in A tier, because they're both very consistent rollers, and they practically have almost 0 risk. Well, Shy Guy has a little bit more of a risk than Daisy, because with Shy Guy you could again roll that 0. But so what? You know? Rolling 4 spaces is gonna make up for that 0 easily, especially if you have so many chances to roll a 4 like that. Now we come to Koopa Troopa's dice block. Koopa's dice block contains the numbers 1, 2, 3, 3, and 10. So, Koopa kind of lives up to his name, right? He's a turtle, you know, he's slow, just like every other turtle would be. He's not good. He does have that 10, you know, if he ever needs to propel forward. If he ever suddenly needs to become the hare in the race and just win it all, then, you know, that 10 can come in useful, but otherwise the rest of his numbers suck. They suck so bad. Half the time you're gonna roll a garbage number. Sometimes, for the benefit of the doubt, you'll roll a 3, which is an average number, and then, if the game decides to be nice to you, you'll roll a 10, which, sure, that can help, but what are the odds that you'll roll the 10 out of everything else that doesn't seem that good? So, Koopa to me is just not good. I have not had very good experiences with Koopa. So, I'm really thinking about where I would place him, though, because, I mean, considering most of his dice block is from 1 through 3, and Mario can roll consistent 3s, and Peach can roll consistent 4s, well, Koopa will still guarantee you movement, at the very least, but again, his movement just sucks overall, though. His consistent movement just sucks overall. I think I'm gonna put Koopa in C tier, in between Mario and Rosalina. I still think Rosalina is worse than Koopa, because Rosalina can't roll consistently, not even as consistent as Koopa. And then, well, with Peach and Mario, they're still both consistent rollers. I mean, that's why I'm willing to put them up higher on C tier, but yeah, I don't know. Koopa's is just bad. Now, if we want to talk really bad, though, Monty Mole's dice block contains a 0 with a 1 coin fill, the most pathetic coin fill in the entire game, followed by 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't have anything else to say about Monty Mole. It just sucks so bad. The only reason you would ever want to use Monty Mole's dice block is if you don't want to roll a 1, because there's no 1 on his dice block. But so what? That's it. It's even worse in comparison because the normal dice block is practically the same. It just has a 1 over Monty Mole's, which doesn't, right? Goomba and Monty Mole are practically at the very bottom because they really got nothing to help them, besides some extra money here and there, you know, like some loose change, but whatever. How's that gonna make a difference in really any of this? So, Monty Mole is gonna be below Goomba in D tier. They both just are absolutely terrible. Bowser Jr., Bowser's son, if you will, has the numbers 1, 1, 1, 4, 4, and 9. So, pretty similar to Luigi's dice block in the sense that half the time you'll roll a 1. But unlike what Luigi has on the other side of his dice, Bowser Jr. has a 4, 4, and 9 that kind of balances out Luigi's 5, 6, and 7. Now, 4 is still pretty average, but that 9 could really get you places. It could really, really get you places if you're lucky enough to roll that 9. But again, 1 in 6 chance, right? How lucky are you going to be? You're probably better off rolling Luigi's 5, 6, or 7 to guarantee yourself at least a decent roll. Or half guarantee, I should say. So, we do have to think about this a little bit, because Luigi and Bowser Jr. are pretty similar. You know, Luigi is going to outroll Bowser Jr. most of the time because of his 5, 6, and 7 as opposed to Bowser Jr.'s 2 4s. But, Bowser Jr. has that 9 that can easily outroll Luigi any day. So, if I'm thinking about it that way, that means Luigi is still going to roll more than Bowser Jr. in the long run, assuming Bowser Jr. isn't constantly rolling 9 somehow, because that's just way too lucky at that point. Why do I see Koopa Kid in Mario Party? No, that's not. Oh, never mind. I realized that you were making a joke. Yeah, well, yeah, so Bowser Jr. for the first time ever is actually a playable character in Super Mario Party, like his father, Bowser. Because Bowser's only really had his own space in all the other Mario parties, but now they're both playable, both father and son. You could theoretically get them as a duo, and that's exactly how that would work. So there you go. So, I'm going to put Bowser Jr., where did I say I would put him? Oh yeah, I'm going to put him in B tier, behind Luigi. So I think Bowser Jr. is actually better than Waluigi and Yoshi. For the sole reasons that the numbers on the better side of the dice actually can work out. But otherwise, they'd probably be worse than Waluigi and Yoshi. Next we have Boo, and oh my lord! So Boo is basically the same character as Wario, practically. I said earlier that Wario has 2 coin drains, followed by 4 6s. Well, Boo's dice block is basically the same thing. It's 2 minus 2 coin drains, followed by 5, 5, 7, and 7. So, Boo's 5s and 7s basically balance out Wario's 6s. So, Boo's practically up there with Wario. I'm just basically spoiling right now that Boo's pretty much an S tier. But, the question is, because Boo's not better than Bowser, but is Boo better than Wario? Because, well, yeah, actually, I think Boo would be, because even though Wario rolling consistent 6s is very good at minimal risk, if a star is 7 spaces away from you, then yeah, you know what? Boo can be a lifesaver as opposed to Wario. But man, having both those characters on your team would be very, very good. So I think Boo for me would be an S tier behind Bowser, but in front of Wario. So far, Boo takes 2nd place on my tier list. Now I'm saying, why can't I imagine that Koopa Kid in Mario Party? Because I don't know, I think it's honestly a worse render of Bowser Jr. in my opinion. I understand what you're saying. I played every single console Mario Party in the series to some degree, so I know what you're talking about with Koopa Kid. But I could see why they definitely dropped the original Koopa Kid design after a while and replaced it with Bowser Jr. Because Bowser Jr. is supposed to be the new Koopa Kid, if you will. But I get what you're saying. You're trying to imagine the original design. Alright, we're almost done here. Next up we got Hammer Bro. Hammer Bro has a +3 coin fill, followed by a 1, 1, 5, 5, and 5. So Hammer Bro actually has one of the bigger coin fills in the game. In fact, I think he's the only character with specifically a +3 coin fill. The 2nd biggest coin fill after Donkey Kong's, which is pretty good. You know, that's like landing on a free blue space. That's like Mr. Blue Space coming to your door and giving you a stimmy. right? Wouldn't you love that? We all love stimmies, don't we? So, there you go. Hammer Bros' dice block basically gives you a full free stimmy off of what a blue space would normally give you. Now, as for the rest of his dice block, he has 2 1s, which suck, for the most part, and then he has 3 5s, which ain't bad. 3 5s, that's a good, consistent number that you could possibly roll from Hammer Bros' dice block. And we already talked about how, you know, Mario and Peach rolling consistent 3s and 4s, sure, that's but sometimes that ain't enough to really move along the board. So, because Hammer Bro has a pretty good consistent number, I'm willing to put him somewhere in B tier, but where though? I mean, I guess if we're talking about, you know, rolling 1s and all that stuff, I guess Hammer Bro for me is gonna go above Waluigi and Yoshi, but be behind Luigi and Bowser Jr. Because in the long run, Luigi and Bowser Jr. could still outpace Hammer Bro, I suppose. So yeah, there's that. Next we have Dry Bones, and Dry Bones has the numbers 1, 1, 1, 6, 6, and 6. Pretty good. Honestly, like, there's a 50-50 chance you're gonna get a garbage number and a 50-50 chance that you're gonna get a good number. Right? It's like sort of up there with, say, like, Wario's dice block, but the reason why it doesn't deserve S tier is because, like, there's a pretty good chance of rolling a 1 as well. Like, it's not, like, the chances of you rolling a 6 aren't nearly as consistent as Wario's, especially not when you include 3 garbage rolls in the mix. And I mean, sure, you don't lose money, but it's just not there for me. But again, a lot of 6s is a pretty good thing. So you know what? I'm debating here, because I'm thinking of either putting Dry Bones in one tier or another, because Dry Bones is pretty good. Let me think though, because his 3 6s would balance out Luigi's 5, 6, and 7, Bowser Jr.'s 4, 4, 9. It's actually still better than Hammer Bros' 1, 3 5s. 3 5s is what I meant to say. So, you know what? I think I'm gonna put Dry Bones in. You know what? I'll be nice. I'll put Dry Bones at the bottom of A tier, because he would be up higher if he had more 6s than 1s, or just more 6s in general, because again, the only reason that wouldn't make him an S tier is because Wario has more 6s. Like, if you're gonna roll 6, Wario's the better person for you. But Dry Bones has probably some of the best consistent movement I've seen within this game, so I think Dry Bones would be up there. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a decent spot to put him. I think we'll go ahead and put Dry Bones up there. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a pretty deserving spot. Because again, because Diddy has 3 7s, which is still better than 6s all the way across the board. And then Donkey Kong's dice block is just straight up crazy. So yeah, all right, we'll put Dry Bones there. I was really thinking about it though, because it's starting to get harder and harder to put these characters in certain spots. And last up, we have Pom Pom, who has the numbers 0, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 8. Now here's the thing about Pom Pom's dice block, right? Because if you think about it, Pom Pom's dice block is basically a copy of Daisy's, who I've already said is very good according to this tier list. But here's the catch though with it though, because the only real difference between Daisy's and Pom Pom's dice block is that there's a 0 there, and instead of the 2 4s, actually, let me explain it this way. Instead of the 2 4s that Daisy has on her dice block, they're replaced with a 0 and an 8. So you can either roll none of the 4s, or you can roll the 2 4s at once for a combined 8 spaces. So it's basically the same thing as Daisy's dice block. And some people might disagree with me on this too, because I think some people think Pom Pom's kind of but I think Pom Pom in the long run could be very good for you. Like, I mean, Pom Pom's a better consistent roller than Mario, to say the least, right? And I mean, it's also very different from the normal dice block. So, you know, if you're gonna include a bunch of 3s on somebody's dice block, then make it a little bit more unique, and make it something that's possibly worth using. And that's what I think with Pom Pom's dice block. Again, to me, it's pretty similar to Daisy's. So, but the question is though, would I rather have Yeah, I mean, but again, those Daisies does have 0 risk on it. Pom-Poms does have a little tiny bit of risk. So, I think, actually, I'm gonna put Pom-Pom, I think I'm gonna put Pom-Pom after Shy Guy. So, if I had to choose between Daisy and Pom-Pom, I think Daisy's the better one for rolling your more consistent average numbers, and Shy Guy, to me, is honestly still better than Pom-Pom, but Pom-Pom gets to be up there. Yeah, I mean, that's basically where I would place Pom-Pom. I think the only character that I'm really still conflicting with on this tier list is probably Drybones, because I was kind of thinking of either putting Drybones at a low A tier or a high B tier, like maybe the highest B tier, but just because I feel nice, I'm gonna leave Drybones at the lowest A tier, which still makes him a very good character in my opinion. Because all those 6s can help you, all those 1s could harm you. It's really kind of just a toss of the dice, but hey, you know what? It's definitely different, and, you know, you have a pretty decent chance of actually rolling yourself a good number. And maybe sometimes you'll even want a 1 if there's a desirable space in front of you. So, yeah, I think that's actually it for my tier list. This is the first ever tier list that I've done unscripted. If you guys can't tell, I'm actually doing this without a script, so I'm kind of surprised with how much I remember, because I really felt like I was going to have to search some of this up, but I think I did a pretty good job for, you know, remembering what all the characters have to offer. And I hope you guys actually enjoyed this tier list. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Yeah, like button. And subscribe down below so that you can become a part of Chung, the Wankster clan today. And of course, make sure to go follow all my social medias in the description below. Especially Twitch if you want to catch more tier lists like this one. And let me know in the comments below. Let me know in the comments below what you guys would like to see for more tier list ideas, if I ever do get to doing them in the future. Drybones got a rank? Yeah, I put Drybones in high A, or low A tier. I was thinking about putting him in high B tier, but I'm gonna be nice to Drybones. For all the Drybones fans out there, you're welcome that I didn't demote this man live, but I think Drybones to me is gonna be high A tier. He's either, or I keep saying high A tier. I meant to say low A tier. For me, Drybones is like low A tier, high B tier for me. But again, because I'm nice to all the people who love dead turtles, I've decided to put Drybones in low A tier. And I think that's a pretty fitting spot for him. He was, again, for me, it was either going to be the low A tier spot or the high B tier spot for me. But I think I'm pretty satisfied with where this tier list ended up. And I guess while I'm at it too, let me know what you guys think about my tier list. And if there's any characters that you personally think should be higher or lower on the tier list. But this is what my tier list is. And yeah, this has been my in-depth tier list on all the characters dice blocked in Super Mario Party. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Again, make sure to hit like, subscribe, all that normal stuff so that you don't miss out if I actually do another tier list. And again, make sure to go follow me on Twitch so that you guys can see me do these tier lists live. But on that note, I will see you guys in the next one. Enjoy your freshly baked sleep. Just don't eat it. Peace.